Aloha, everyone. And as Purnima just said, welcome to Astrology for the New Age of Aquarius and Class 4. And as you all know, this course is based upon the teachings that were given by Omraam Aïvanhov. We're utilizing this as kind of like a trampoline so that our soul can resonate and we can explore even more so this extraordinary relationship between ourselves more deeply, ourself as a universal being with many, many, many soul experiences, and the universe in which we live in, and the book, The Keys to Man into the Universe, in which you can easily purchase. And so a big mahalo, which means thank you to Purnima and Susan for their support and for offering this platform. So thank you so much. It's just an extraordinary gift. And a big mahalo to the Fraternal Forum for allowing in this invitation and the support that they're giving and the work that they're doing to increase and amplify the resonances of this extraordinary teaching that Omraam Aïvanhov has brought forth, and supporting this consciousness of entering into universality of the Age of Aquarius, and this age in which we'll live as one family, no borders, brothers and sisters. And then most of all, a huge mahalo and thank you for each one that is assisting this class, because we are creating together a field of resonance that is absolutely extraordinary. When I I listen to the class, I'm going, my goodness, what's going on? And it's your souls that are creating the opportunity for these teachings to take place. You know, and I say to people a lot of times, I'm just a parrot. I'm just repeating what's going on in this collective field of soul resonance. And this is going to be the topic that we're going to enter into much more deeply: planetary resonance. How do these things take place? And for that, we're going to enter into the time before we're born. Because most astrology, we could say 99.99999%, is focused on this incarnation, which is extremely important, but it's incomplete. There was a time before, and there'll be a time after. So our present is made up of the past and future, and we'll enter into these timelines, and hopefully we'll have the time to enter into personal, collective, and planetary karma and dharma, which is absolutely the base, the foundation of going from a dualistic viewpoint into this unified field of consciousness that is made of three. Always existed, three. How can we have a child if there's not two to come together to create the third? So let us begin with deepening our breath, allowing this field of resonance to be. And just for a moment, let's enter into our hearts and listen. Let us listen to the song of our soul. Every one of us is coming in to this lifetime with many melodies. And these melodies and the relationships and the harmonies and the overtones that they create are creating this song of our soul that is an extraordinary expression of the beauty, of this wonder, of this extraordinary expression of creation. And as we can perceive and hear this melody, this song taking place deep within our heart, Let us listen to our song and start perceiving and listening to the songs of those around us. Already we can hear the song of each of our organs, for they also are expressing tones, music, a tonality that is linked to this universal symphony that we call the music of the spheres. Each one of us is a small representation of this extraordinary harmony and music. And as we listen to our song and hear how it interweaves with the songs of others, let us now listen to the song of our Mother Gaia, our planet Earth, for she too is singing her song. Her song of becoming a sun, the song of receiving the light, the warmth, and the life of our dear sun, and allowing herself to grow into that by providing the substance for our experiential reality that's taking place here. And as we hear this extraordinary song of our Mother Gaia, we start reaching out and we hear this song of our solar system taking place in these extraordinary movements that we call the orbit of each planet around the sun. In reality, these are all planetary resonances filled with overtones of innumerable beings that are singing their soul song. And as we allow ourselves to remain in the resonance of our song, yet allowing ourselves to open to this immensity of the song of our solar system, we realize that yes, even the Zodiac is singing a song. Each one of these portals, these 12 portals, has an extraordinary harmony that it's allowing entering in from our galactic center. And as we bathe ourselves in these universal harmonies, we feel this connection between our center, our song that's continually singing. We realize that there's a source, an origin that's pulsating into our universe, this reality that we're continually walking through and journeying in. And this galactic center is the orchestra, the conductor, the God-Goddess that's bringing forth the multitude, the infinite resonances of all these songs. And we allow ourselves to be within universal harmony of creation. So, thank you all for this moment, precious moment of amplifying this field of universal resonance and harmony. And so this first diagram we looked at a little bit last week in class 3, and we went over this very quickly. This gives us a perception of this journey we all take before incarnating. We emerge from this infinite space that we can resume in the galactic center. We're all a part. We're all cells, you could say. Our spirit is a vibrant cell of God-Goddess that's projected from this galactic center, and it goes through the gatekeeper of spirit, Pluto. So you see Pluto there in that first triangle up above. That's represented by this gatekeeper. And if we look at mythology, Greek mythology, in which all of Western astrology is based on. And all of our understanding of the universe is brought to us through stories. Remember, we talked about memory, mem, the soul, and ori, story, so her story. So storytelling is always a way to bring us into a relationship with ourselves and the universe. So Pluto in mythology is the underworld. It's where we leave from. We leave and re-emerge and re-enter into our universal abode, our universal inhabitation. So it's a gatekeeper, but it's also a gatekeeper for the Akasha records, for the stories that we lived all through our journey. So Pluto retrieves when it's time for a soul to re-enter and continue its journey, and there's a reason for that. The soul makes that choice. It makes that choice in time and in space. That's why, remember, we looked at the cross of destiny in 3 different ways last week, and we saw that this cross represents time and space. So in a particular moment of time and space before incarnating, which is obviously different than the time and space here on Earth, even though they're connected, Pluto retrieves the records that are held in the galactic center, in this star in Sagittarius and Pleiades, you might say, and brings these soul records forth. And we emerge into an ocean of love, into Neptune. So this is the first planetary resonance. Every spirit starts filling their body, which we call a soul. It starts filling its body with the resonances of divine love. Isn't that extraordinary? We just bathe ourselves in that. So this is the first perceptual reality of a soul and a spirit coming into the incarnational field. And you'll see how important this is for astrology for the Age of Aquarius, and how much this is linked, because parents that want to have children, this is the first thing that they want to create. They want to create this field of resonance. They want to create this field of divine love, because that's exactly what the spirit and soul is living. It's absolutely living that. So as the parents, they create that field of love, and through the work that they're doing as a couple and the work that they're doing individually, they amplify, they connect, they include this soul into this divine ocean of love. Then they're maintaining this first impression. The second is we enter into this field of Uranus, which means wisdom. What is this wisdom? The wisdom is being able to know the relationship of the entire universe. And our relationship of this universe is represented by the perimeter of this zodiac, the 12 zodiacal signs. In other words, these keys, which is the title of the book. Keys to the universe. Keys to man and women. Remember, man and women. So these keys that unlock the doors of our perceptual inner and outer awareness is given to us through Uranus. All the keys. We have all the keys, every single key. So in this new age wisdom that's coming forth, they call this the dimensional realities, unlocking the dimensional realities, or unlocking other genetic codes. It's all the same thing. This wisdom has been known forever. Forever. It's just now being put into a language that's perhaps more contemporary, that's easily understood, because our reality, our physical reality, is more associated with that. So these keys unlock the door. We have them within us and they're outside of us. So the next sphere we enter into is Saturn. So in Saturn, suddenly we're brought forth into our soul destiny. We start individualizing ourselves. We start emerging into our identity, in which we assimilate completely the other past lifetimes we've lived. There, the choices are presented to us. These are all words. Remember, we need to, little by little, bring our field of awareness into other realities than the earthly one. But these, how it takes place in the earthly realm is good. It's a good base. Yet allow our awareness to see the word choices. It's a little bit different than what we're choosing to eat, or what job we're going to do, or where we're going to go today. Or even though that resonance is the same, these choices are a little bit different. So in Saturn, suddenly there becomes the first council. These great spirits invite our guides, all our guides that have accompanied us and that are present, all of us. Maybe I don't know how many were on this call. It doesn't really matter. Yet within the field of resonance, there's innumerable beings, because each one of us is carrying many, 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 many different resonances that are guiding us, that are weaving our soul destiny. And so all these beings come, and the oversoul, the higher selves, this higher body of the parents that are going to create this environment in a specific time period, come and meet. And there's agreements that are made. Covenants, rainbow. These are the rainbow children. They're agreements that take place on a soul level. And these agreements are consented to 100%. No decision can be made unless everyone agrees upon it. So you could look at, well, how is there's justice when a little tiny baby is born into horrible conditions? So on a human level, we're not going to try to explain it. This is the world we're living in, unfortunately. This is part of the human journey. We are all responsible for that. Yet, this field of resonance, everyone agreed upon on a soul level, because we always have to remember that our soul is eternal. Our spirit is eternal. The very essence of one of the most sacred books that has come into our human path, the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna in us is represented. But how can I go forth in this battle? It makes no sense whatsoever. And Krishna, as the initiator of this golden age, that's bringing forth the principles of dharma that we're going to enter, the relationship between dharma and karma, is giving forth the teachings of what we call karma. The teachings of karma are the teachings of our experiential reality. So in Saturn, this is what we receive: experience, the precious gift of experience. And we continue. We enter into another sphere. So in these top three, you can see there's this word divinity, the divine in us, in illumination. This is here where we receive the gift of illumination, a way in which we can communicate with the universe through light, illuminating. So in the darkest period of our life, that we call the dark the night of the soul, the dark night of the soul. Thank you. The dark night of the soul. We can illuminate this dark night of the soul, the darkest periods, through this light that never goes out. It's constantly there, illumination. So we enter into another expression. And So these first three planets, you can see consciousness planets. They're out of this realm of consciousness that humanity has journeyed in for the last 26,000 years, since the last period of the age of Aquarius. 26,000 years for us is enormous as a human being here on Earth. For our soul, not so much. But still, let us look at that 26,000 years in our experiential reality of today, knowing this is a unique opportunity. So these trans-consciousness planets now are being activated by this arrival through the carrier of Uranus. In other words, Uranus is now activating the keys within us so that these energies of illumination can start entering in, so the light can go deeper, 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 deeper into what we call the realms of sub and unconsciousness. And we're going to look at that. So this was symbolized by the beginning of the age of Pisces, that hopefully most of us have started this work and are continuing by Jeshua ben Joseph, carrying this Christ energy, which is none other than this light, completely illuminated, entering into the deepest and darkest regions, and opening this door for humanity. And little by little, there's beings that have gone through this door, and this path is now being interwoven through the soul journeys that we're walking on. So now we enter into another realm, which is called the outer planets. Outer planets because they're outside of the orbit of the Earth around the sun. So suddenly we're outside of our daily lives, and we're entering into something more collective with the outer planets. So the outer planets start with Jupiter, and you say these are the qualities of our soul. A lot of times, and this was brought forth from the books of Mikhaël Gibran, absolutely extraordinary, this image of the garden of our soul. So here, as we enter in, all souls and spirits, they enter in, we suddenly receive the seeds, these qualities, to plant in our garden. We're all gardeners. We all have a garden, a soul garden, that we're continually planting. We also see the experiences of what we call weeds. You see? So these weeds we take in with us also. Why? Because we need to have this base of all life in our experiential reality for Earth. These weeds also are beneficial. They're also bringing forth different things, yet there needs to be a balance between that. And there's many forms now that are coming forth that are assisting human beings to heal the Earth in which we as human beings have neglected and we've abused within this absolute frenzy of wanting to survive. Obsessed. Remember, we looked at this cross of necessity. We're obsessed with eating and finding our shelter. And we'll do anything for that. We'll destroy redwood forests that have existed for 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years. Can we even imagine the beings that are present? Those of us that have gone into these redwood forests and have gone in regularly can absolutely attest to that, the work that they are doing, and the link between the redwood trees and the whales through resonance, through song. So in Jupiter, this teaching is given to us, and it forms the values, the ideals in which we're bringing into this lifetime. There's no good or bad in that. There's these values that the soul can always strive for. And sometimes this takes place in ease and grace, and sometimes takes place in sufferance and struggle. All these things are part of our wheel of destiny. And then afterwards, oh, this is extraordinary, we enter into Mars. The sacrifice of these beings that live in this sphere. So when we listen to the Judeo-Christian, and there's other stories, but especially the Judeo-Christian story that has plunged humanity in this absolute struggle with good and evil, that they're adversaries, that they're fighting one against the other, that Mars accepted to accompany human beings into their next phase of evolution, in other words, into a physical body. Without this sacrifice from the being of Mars, human beings could not take on a physical form. This is extremely important now. And it would be an immense story to start understanding this sacrifice of the beings of Mars. Yet these beings now are being, you could say, released from their service. They've graduated, and they're entering into a whole new field of residence in which they're saying, now human beings, they're in physical form. They can live, they can reproduce, we can continue our physical experience. Now its role is to bring in the resonance, the overtones that are found in our higher self, which are in the sun. So this is the next thing. Mars is now, this is the job that Mars has. It's allowing every human being to maintain in their physical lives a higher field of resonance without our physical body exploding into a million pieces, without us fainting. You know, look at the lives of these amazing beings are extremely important for us to study. This is the base of Waldorf school teaching. Before the age of puberty, they introduce that the student can inspire themselves for the lives of extraordinary beings. So one of these beings, his name is Ramakrishna, that lived in India, I don't know when. He fell into ecstasy all the time. He was a receptacle of these higher vibrations. He was living in that, yet his physical body wasn't prepared sufficiently enough for him to maintain that. His soul and spirit, his life, the life he lived, was extraordinary, but his physical body wasn't. Well, now on a collective level, we're going to be able to maintain that. And the most important thing is we're going to be able to maintain that field. So the souls, these higher souls that are waiting to incarnate, they're saying, we're not going to enter into an environment where we have to leave 99% of our being in safeguard on the sun, because the conditions on Earth aren't well enough prepared. They want to come in with the most of their field of resonance as possible. And you see examples of that. The story of this young girl at the age of 4 or 5 that is painting these extraordinary paintings that are unbelievable of saints and prophets and, you know, Joshua ben Joseph. And it's just mind-blowing. Well, that's not an isolated situation. It's the same thing for our inner child. So now that's the role of Mars, and we enter into the sun that represents our higher self. And in the terms of Omraam Aïvanhov, our individuality. So in the sun, our entire individuality is, our higher self is there. So we bring that with us from Saturn. So this connection between Saturn and the sun is extremely important. And it's extremely important now. For, as you know, in astrology, for those that know that, the sign of Aquarius, which we're entering into, has 2 planets that govern it. We have Saturn as a traditional planet, and Uranus now that is supporting, as we said before, these keys to open up so humanity can take on higher vibrations. So Uranus as a planet in Aquarius is very much linked to Leo and the sun. The sun is governing this sign of Leo. And we'll enter into these 4 states of planetary resonance in a tiny bit. So, in the sun, we have all these resonances of our higher self. The best way we can illustrate this on the physical plane is crystal bowls. When you hear a crystal bowl, you hear all the harmonics that are there. That's our higher self. It's a field of harmony. And how do we create this within ourselves? Well, we need to have a heart as pure as a crystal. That's the first condition to create a crystal ball. We need to have the crystals. We are crystalline. So this is one of the goals for everyone on Earth. This is our planetary dharma, in which our planetary karma, little by little, is going to align with. We're going to become carriers of light, which the crystal represents. I read something absolutely extraordinary that Rudolf Steiner brought forth. He said, exactly how we perceive the universe through our physical eyes right now, our perceptual reality, we see the universe in physical form. Angels, they don't see physical form. They just see emptiness. Exactly what science has told us, that there is very, very little physical form. That it's mostly space. And so Steiner says, so what are the eyes of angels? What image or what is the reality? He says the eyes of angels can be best equated to precious gems. Can you imagine? Those are the eyes of angels. So as we see, if we have precious gems or we have crystals and we have that, and I know a brother that's part of this circle, an extraordinary man that's surrounded by crystals, and he works with crystals consciously for all of humanity. He asked that question, oh, well, do you have any other knowledge about crystal? When I read that's absolutely extraordinary. Every time you look at your crystals now, imagining that the angels are looking at you. Isn't that extraordinary? And all of us, as we look at our crystals that are surrounding us on an altar, we're inviting angels to perceive us. And that's our future. Future of humanity is to become an angel, is to see the universe and ourselves in that way. So this is our higher self, is these vibrations that are going to permit light to come into our reality. And from there, we enter into this sphere of Venus. Now we enter into the inner planets. So in these outer planets, you see that this is the individuality, our higher self, that we said this individuality is a term from Omraam Aïvanhov. It's the same as our higher self. And there we're working on inspiration. We're constantly inspired. We're constantly in this creative flow. We're a sun. We're giving forth this life energy. So as you look at your charts, which we call a mandala of consciousness, these are the things that we're looking at. It's just this form. We're giving it a different form in the form of a tree of life. That's all. But it's the same thing. Absolutely the same thing. So we enter now into something different. We enter into the inner planets. In other words, the planets that are inside the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Now we're entering into something extraordinary, our daily lives here on Earth. Well, the first is Venus. Venus is linked to, they're our grandparents. The beings from Venus came to the Earth. They were the ones that first stepped on the Earth to prepare the Earth for the arrival of humanity into physical form. And in the Judeo-Christian tradition, this is called the Elohims, plural, El, the goddess, the gods plural, and the goddesses. This realm of in the Latin tradition, we'd call them principalities that enter in and are supporting the Earth on a planetary basis and always, always, always aligning the planet Earth to enter into its role to become a sun. Remember, that's the ideal of the Earth. It also has a sole purpose, to become a sun. And so it's utilizing emotion, feelings, and sensation, sensing the universe. It's utilizing that in order to bring these things into our lives, realigning our lives, and enabling our heart to continue purifying whatever is shielding the light. So these two planets that we're going to talk about, Venus and Mercury, which is the next one, perceived from the Earth, these planets follow the sun. Venus is never further than 44 degrees from the sun, and Mercury never 28 degrees. So they're following the sun as, from the Earth's perspective, around the zodiac. And they seesaw back and forth in what we call retrograde. They're in front of the sun, in which we call the evening star, the Venus as the evening star, and it's before the sun, in which we call the morning star. And they have their reasons to be, because these inner planets are working, they're preparing the conditions so the human being can work in duality, in birth and what we call death, in night and day, in outer and inner. These are the first ones, our minds and our feelings. They have outer perceptual awarenesses and they have inner ones. Now, human beings for the last, let's say, 300 years, okay? Since the last time Pluto was in the sign of Aquarius, let's just say it that way, to bring us into an astrological awareness, so I can give you some astrological information, that this perceptual awareness has become more and more and more outside of ourselves. And what has been the consequence of that? There's been a disorientation, extraordinary, of the human being's psyche, and a pressure that has been put upon. How does that pressure express itself? Through crisis. Whether that be a planetary crisis, whether that be a collective crisis, or whether that be a personal one. So it's to rectify, it's to bring into alignment this natural process of allowing a human being to enter into a dualistic reality, which is Earth, bringing in this alternates. So in Venus, it's done through our feelings, through beauty, through tenderness, through kindness, through empathy, all these qualities. And through Mercury, we enter into the next field, Mercury, in which the beings there, they have a name, the archangels, because these beings you'll see that are in Venus, Mercury, and the moon, there are three guides for our personal dharma and karma, our collective one, dharma and karma, and our planetary one. These are our three guides for everyone, for all humanity. And as we can understand and assimilate these three principles of Venus, Mercury, and the moon into our consciousness, and they become receptacles, and they're aligned with higher vibrations that are found up into that upper triangle of the trans-consciousness planets of Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn, then suddenly we emerge from this duality, of this opposition, of this struggle and fight that we're in, and we enter into a trinity. And we're going to see that in our astrological aspects if we ever get there. So the next sphere of Mercury, this is where our conceptual reality is formed. We start being able, its goal, what is its goal? Is to support the process through light, to bring this light into our occupations here on Earth, into our activities. It's there so that this can be facilitated through ease and grace. So its role is to put itself in harmony with the higher self. It's the closest to the sun, and communicate that. Become the staff of Caduceus de Hermes, which is represented by Mercury, connect heaven to earth through these two currents. Well, what are these two currents? Our outer and inner perceptual reality. So everyone jokes about, oh, we can't communicate because Mercury is retrograde. Well, evidently we can't communicate because all our forms of communication now, 99.99999% are based on outer perceptual reality. So suddenly when Mercury starts to enter into a retrograde period and it goes the furthest away from the sun, it's asking all of humanity to enter into other forms of communication. So Greta and I joke because already this is a huge step for us to be with you on Zoom, and we're so thankful and grateful that people are supporting us into this endeavor, and that we're allowing these new technology to enter into our life. But people ask us, are you on Facebook? And we say, no, we're on Spacebook. So it's just a joke. So, but this represents Mercury when it's in its retrograde period. It's asking us to develop a quality called intuition, enter deeper into. And at that time, Mercury is completely receptive into receiving higher vibrations from where? From Uranus and through the sun. So the sun is just a transformer. It just transforms. It allows these extraordinary vibrations that would blow us into a million pieces here in our physical reality. The sun enables this energy to tone down a bit. So Mercury, this is its job. It goes from an inner, this period of entering in and receiving guidance, to giving guidance, to creating a service so that life becomes easier for everyone. Organization, or in French, that means gold. So in other words, changing lead into gold. The alchemic process is taking place through this staff of the Caduceus of Hermes. And now we enter into the moon. Extraordinary. So for astrology, what's going on? So the moon moves through these different phases. It's absolutely showing duality in its magnificence. It's going from the new moon into the full moon, back into the new moon. And in that, in ancient times, all of life was harmonized by that. The rhythms of physical reality suddenly correspond to the rhythms of our soul destiny. So listen to this very carefully. The moon takes 29 1/3 days to do its complete cycle around the sun. Well, Saturn, the Saturn return, for those that hear that, 29 1/3 years. So they both have the same movement. So through the moon, our angelic guides, all our personal guardian angels, they're all assisting us to accord our rhythms of daily life with the rhythms of our soul purpose. Can you imagine? Every 2 1/3 days, we receive another possibility to activate these keys that Uranus is opening for us through the moon. And there, as I said, our ethereal body, in other words, the body that permits us to receive energies, life force, that's coming from Mars, that's being recharged by the sun. It's enabling our ethereal body to receive these energies, and then it transmits it through where? Through the different organs in our physical body. So our different organs, they're extremely linked to this rhythm of the moon. And each one of us has a specific lunar rhythm, and that we can determine. And this was known in the past. And this rhythm was established where? It was established way before, in our soul destiny, for the best conditions. That's why in the activities in the past, we cut wood at a specific time, we planted the garden at a specific time, we built our homes at a specific time, we gathered our vegetables at a specific time, we came together to celebrate our traditions, our expression of gratefulness and honor to this universe around us, and receive other energies in which we could bring in the new energies. This was all done through the lunar cycle. All in relationship not only to the specific lunar cycle and the time of the year that's taking place, but its elliptical orbit, how high it was and how low it is. The whole basis of biodynamic agriculture that Rudolf Steiner brought forth. When asked that question, what is the most important thing now for the evolution of humanity? The beginning of his series of agricultural lectures, he responded, human beings are no longer receiving the energies from the universe. So this methodology is now enabling humanity to bring forth and entering in to these energies of the universe. And finally, we enter into our physicality, the Earth, very easy to see. And in these inner planets, we have our personalities, or our ego, which is in the anthroposophic science. The ego means very different than what we consider as our ego, this ego that changes all the time, that's causing problems in our lives. And personality, this word that Mikhaël Aïvanhov utilizes, that he's saying these are the roots, correspond to the roots of a tree, that are enabling us to bring forth these brute elements that we have within us to be refined. And that we're linking this personality, how we are here on Earth, what we're bringing in. You could say the wounds and the challenges that we're all bringing in, this is our personality. In other words, our karma. And we're according that with our higher self, the sun. So the moon and the sun are linked together around us. It receives always the light from the sun. And this is our goal. This is the image we see. And in that, we have this extraordinary gift that we can utilize that will completely change our lives. Imagination. Oh my goodness, you're kidding. I just received that we only have 10 minutes left. I haven't done anything yet. Well, Ansi, that's how the world goes. Could we have the next diagram, please? Imagination. Beautiful. So this is another way of seeing this. And all these, as always, all these diagrams you'll have. So as we see this, how are all these things interwoven? Well, there's this extraordinary thing that's come out in physics in the quantum field. It's called the string theory. I don't know how many years ago, let's say 20. And in this string theory, it said that everything is intertied as threads of life, interdimensional realities, that this is all taking place at the same time. This is another way of representing it. So what I would like to do now, if you permit me, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we're going to allow this diagram to stay up. And I'm not a singer, I'm a composer and a pianist, but I'm going to sing to you a song that's illustrating our work on a karmic and dharmic level. and it's called the chords of life. So chords meaning C-O-R-D-S, chords, strings that can tie us, hold us, retain us, interweave, and chords, C-H-O-R-D-S, in other words, the relationships in harmony in music. So it's called the chords of life, both words. So this is a big deal for me, singing on a Zoom, a cappella. Accepting, allowing, and surrendering within the mystery. Cutting the cords and letting go into the flow. She knows. The threads of many lives woven and tied, holding on to the past long gone. Pulling back the cords now have slacked, their memory is found. String by string untangled to sing the songs that are freeing. Chords in harmony are opening. Daring to fly, spread the wings to die, to birth, and let the earth be earth. And spirit is spirit to inherit eternal life. How to know what is next, to turn right or to turn left, a distance to leave behind, not knowing what to find, untying the knot of life. The cords are retaining, lives remaining, coming again and again, holding the soul a time to be bold into immensity. Gliding, string by string untangled to sing the songs that are free. Chords in harmony are opening. Daring to fly, spread the wings to die, to birth, and let the earth be earth. And spirit is spirit to inherit eternal life. From infinite space the essences make a basket that gathers light, guiding the journey, threads of destiny, unwinding the course no longer tight. The lives lived offers and gives another choice. Hear the voice, utter words that are heard within eternity to be. String by string untangled to sing the songs that are freeing. Chords in harmony are opening. Daring to fly, spread the wings to die, to birth, let the earth be earth. And spirit is spirit to inherit eternal life. The courts of life, eternal life, the courts of life, eternal life. Thank you very much for permitting me that. And in that song, we're seeing this relationship to planetary, collective, and personal dharma and karma. We're seeing how these threads, these strings that we're bringing from past lifetimes, that they're within our unconscious and subconscious realities, tangled, condensed, and that as we're able to bring in chords of a higher frequency and harmony, these chords that are in our subconscious and unconscious loosen, and there's space, and there we have memory that comes. So remember, we looked at this word memory. Now there's a second word, remember. Remember. Remember is carrying these higher frequencies. We all remember. We remember these higher frequencies. Yet for that, we need room in our memory. We need to create space. We need to allow these chords of our own personal destiny within our mental, emotional, ethereal, and physical reality to loosen and allow these resonances and remembrance of coming in. And Omraam Aïvanhov said that every art form, remember, imagination and inspiration of our inner and outer planets, these qualities. So every art form has a mission, and the mission of music is to awaken this memory we have, remember, of paradise, of the Garden of Eden, in which we were living in this extraordinary universal consciousness of creation. So I'm going to finish with two things, because, you know, a lot of times people that give these lectures, or what do they call them, webinars? I used a technical word, huh? Webinar. Woo! So they give these webinars. They read stuff, you know, they support what they say through information that science, that this official reality of our perceptual awareness of Earth supports. I don't really do that. I really don't. And, you know, that's been my path. So if there's a lack of that, I encourage every one of you to verify on the internet. There's an enormous amount of information. So if anything here appears funny that I'm presenting, verify it. There's no problem. I have no problem being corrected, readjusted. It's just not my path, truly. I verify a lot. My forms of verification are different, and we'll get into that in the later classes. So the first thing I'd like to read is what the quote that I sent out on the flyer of this. I just like to read it because I think it's so important for us to reattune to always the Age of Aquarius. This is what we're looking at, and we're going to get into this next 3 weeks of the 3 questions that were key to what we were starting this class with. The 3 questions of, you know, where am I at right now within the Age of Aquarius? What would I like to do? Where would I like to go? How would I like to participate in this current of the Age of Aquarius? And the planet, what is the planet doing? And how can we accord? How can we attune ourselves with a planetary work that's taking place right now? Those are the 3 questions that I asked everyone to ponder before entering into this class. So you'll find on the YouTube channel the introduction that I gave. And if this interests you, you can look at this introduction, and those 3 questions are then mentioned, and they're elaborated a little bit. So this is from Omraam Aïvanhov, the book. The age of Aquarius Leo will be the age of love and wisdom, and to a certain extent, truth. But the real age of truth will come later, with the 6th and 7th races. Oh, there's a later? There are other races? This is me talking. There's something else going on in this lifetime? So we're in the midst of a universal movement in which the Earth is an environment that allows this to take place. Okay, I'm going back to the text of Omraam. When humankind has achieved the perfect synthesis of love and wisdom. Then truth will be established in all fullness. So what is truth? Good question. Your homework. This is your homework for this week. What is true in my life? What is true? And from that, we just heard that this truth is based on two things: the synthesis of love and wisdom. So this is your homework for this week. We're going to enter into this current of love and wisdom, that this axis of destiny of Leo Aquarius is bringing to us. And next week, hopefully we'll get into the axis of destiny. We'll look more closely into the planetary dharma and karma. And I'm not gonna try to do anything more because that's an oxymoron. So it's our field of resonance that is playing with time. Do you see how time goes by? Whoosh! Doesn't exist. 1 second. 1 second we've been together. This is the age of Aquarius. It's taken away any perceptual reality of time and replacing it by what? Dimensional reality, space. And we'll enter into that much more fully. I'd like to finish now with a quote from Rudolf Steiner. Absolutely extraordinary. Because I want to back up what I've just shared with you. No, that's not true. I find this quote absolutely extraordinary. So it's taken from a collection of lectures called Guardian Angels. And, you know, the translations of the work of Rudolf Steiner are very, they're precarious, one could say, because the German language is a very complex language. And to bring this into a fluidity, even in the English languages, is a huge challenge. So this is the translation. The human being is to be found in the universe. So we can be found in the universe. That's me. And the universe is in the human being. So both, remember, macrocosmos and microcosmos. Therefore, it is not an anthropomorphism. So in other words, we're not projecting what's going on in our daily life out into the universe. You know, like we say, that's what mythology does, and that's what all these tribal cultural people did. You see? No. Okay, I'm going to continue. When in my esoteric science, so this is a book that Rudolf Steiner wrote, Esoteric Science, like Omraam World, unlike him, Rudolf Steiner wrote certain books. I think he wrote 6 or 7 or 8, and he published a great deal of articles. Yet he gave an enormous amount of lectures. So he said, when in my esoteric science, I present the evolution of the universe hand in hand through Saturn, Sun, Moon, and so on. So he's saying all this is taking place through the planets, the evolution of the universe. Universal evolution is presented, and human evolution is presented. It's shown. It comes forth. Because the further we delve into the mysteries of existence, the more do the universe and the human beings merge. Wow. And we are shown even more clearly that the separation we have envisioned existing in our earthly life, this dualistic reality that's perceived as a separation between the universe and the human being, is actually the illusion. Separation is the illusion, according to Rudolf Steiner. I happen to agree 1000% with that. That the human being belongs to the universe, and the universe belongs to a human being. So what did the native cultures do? They say, the earth doesn't belong to you. We belong to the earth. They added that in. So in the age of Aquarius, this is what's going to happen. Finally going to accept that. So thank you so much to joining me during this journey. And we're going to now connect once again. And we're going to see these cords of life. We're going to see these cords as filaments, as beams, as rays of light. Utilize your imagination and see them radiated out from your heart center and interweaving into these souls that are now listening to this circle that we've created. And so we're creating this basket of light, of interweaving with light that's coming from our hearts. Light that we've received from the universe that once again we allowed to come forth. So we're allowing this cycle to come forth and we're adding to it. We're adding our field of resonance. And as we interweave and we create this basket of light, we're going to allow this light to pour forth and bathe all humanity, all human consciousness in light. We're going to hold these frequencies all during the week amongst us, that were strings, were cords of light, and that we're interweaving our particular personal destiny and soul journey with a collective one of like-minded souls that we're resonating with, whether we know them or not. And we're allowing this to create this basket and pour forth. And we're seeing through our mind's eye, we're seeing all these different baskets of light that are showering all humanity. And they're entering into places that need this consolation, this ease of suffering, this untanglement. And we're allowing the strings to become smooth so that the tram of soul destiny has the freedom to interweave with the splendor of creation. So I look forward to being with you next week. I love you all. I feel your love, and may God bless.